Today, we are diving deep into a massive $100 million showdown that's pitting two of the biggest names in real estate tech, Zillow and Redfin, against the US government. And what's really at stake here could change how millions of us find our next apartment.
So on the surface, this whole thing seems like a no-brainer. Zillow and Redfin, two platforms you've probably used, team up. It looks like a classic win-win. But the government, specifically the Federal Trade Commission, sees something totally different. They see a deal that they think is bad for competition, and ultimately, bad for you. So what is really going on?
All right, so how did we even get here? Well, this partnership wasn't just some random idea. It was a really strategic move, born out of a very specific problem that each of these companies was trying to solve in the rental market.
Okay, so think of this like two puzzle pieces. You've got Zillow over here sitting on a treasure trove of rental listings, but always looking for better ways to make money from them. And then you have Redfin, which was really struggling to get enough of those rental listings on its own site. It's kind of perfect, right? Each one had exactly what the other needed. So they made a deal. It's pretty straightforward. Zillow agrees to share its huge database of apartment listings with Redfin. In exchange, when someone on Redfin is interested in one of those apartments, Redfin sends that person, that lead, right back to Zillow. It's a classic syndication play, really. You share your content to get in front of more eyeballs, and it played to each company's strengths perfectly.
And listen, this wasn't some small experiment. We're talking about a deal reportedly worth $100 million. A number that big tells you just how important this was for both Zillow and Redfin. And, well, it's also why it lit up the radar of federal regulators.
But, just as they were getting this partnership off the ground, that $100 million deal turned into a $100 million legal battle. The government swooped in with a very, very different interpretation of what was going on.
And we're not talking about a strongly worded letter here. The FTC, along with the attorneys general from 5 states, filed an actual lawsuit to completely kill this deal. Why? Because they believe this partnership crosses a very important line from healthy collaboration into anti-competitive behavior. And they did not mince words. The FTC called the deal an end run around competition. That is some seriously strong language coming from a federal regulator. Basically, they're saying that instead of fighting each other for business in the rental market, Zillow and Redfin just decided to team up, and that could really hurt everyone else.
Okay, so this is the heart of the government's case. They look at the online rental market and see only 3 dominant players: Zillow, Redfin, and another company called CoStar. And as you can see, the government says that together, these 3 control a whopping 85% of all the revenue. So in their eyes, when 2 of those 3 giants decide to partner up, well, you can see why the alarm bells started ringing.
But Zillow and Redfin, they are not taking this lying down. They've come out swinging with a full-blown defense, and their whole argument is that the government has this completely backward. They say this deal is actually a good thing for everybody, especially us, the consumers.
Their main point completely flips the government's argument on its head. They're saying this partnership is pro-consumer, and far from crushing competition, it actually creates more of it. How? By letting them join forces to challenge the real giant in the room, CoStar. They're basically saying this is a win-win-win. For renters, you get to see more listings on Redfin, which means more choice. For property managers, their ads get seen by more people. And for Zillow, it helps them compete for those big advertising dollars. So from their perspective, this isn't about killing competition, it's about making the market stronger and better for everyone. And this is where it gets really interesting. Zillow and Redfin are basically calling out the FTC's math. They're poking holes in that 85% market share number, saying the government is being deliberately vague about how much Zillow and Redfin control by themselves. Their point is pretty clear. Hey, your numbers don't tell the whole story. And this all leads us to the name that's at the absolute center of this whole fight, CoStar. To really understand what Zillow and Redfin are arguing, you have to understand who CoStar is and just how big of a shadow it casts over this entire industry. Yeah, so CoStar Group isn't just another website. We're talking about an absolute behemoth. They own Apartments.com, which is one of the biggest rental sites on the planet. For a company like Zillow, CoStar is their #1 rival, not just in rentals, but in pretty much everything they do. And right here, this is the key to their whole legal strategy. They're arguing that the FTC is creating a totally false picture by lumping them in with their biggest competitor. Their argument is, hey, we're not teaming up to take over the market. We're teaming up so we can actually have a fighting chance against the real dominant player, which is CoStar. But to get the full picture here, you have to zoom out. This legal fight over the Redfin partnership isn't happening in a bubble. For Zillow, it's just one piece of a much larger battle over its entire business model, and the stakes could not be higher.
And if you want to know why this one deal matters so much to Zillow, just look at this number, 41%. That's how much the rental business grew in the third quarter. That's almost 3 times faster than the rest of the company. Rentals are a massive growth engine for Zillow's future, and this lawsuit is a direct threat to that engine.
And, this isn't the only fire they're putting out. Zillow is also facing a whole separate lawsuit over its Zillow Preferred Agent program, with some people alleging it drives up costs for home buyers. So you're starting to see a pattern here, where different parts of Zillow's business are coming under intense legal scrutiny.
So what is Zillow saying publicly? Well, they're standing their ground big time. One of their senior VPs, Zuhaira Washington, came out and said these claims are just flat out false, and that everything they do is about giving consumers more choice and transparency. They're digging in, painting themselves as the good guys, the innovators, not some monopoly.
So when you boil it all down, after all the lawsuits and the press releases, you're left with 2 completely opposite stories. The government sees a shady deal between 2 rivals that's designed to squash competition. The companies see a smart alliance that lets them take on a market titan and give a better experience to consumers.
And that leaves us with the $1 million, or I guess $100 million question that the courts now have to answer. Is this a strategic partnership that actually makes the rental market more competitive? Or is it a backroom deal that's going to end up limiting choices for millions of us who are looking for a place to live? The answer won't just impact Zillow and Redfin. It could set a major precedent for how the government looks at partnerships between big tech companies for years to come.